Hello, and welcome to an episode of ES Repair. I am your co-host, Mr. Fix-It. In this video, I'm going to do a little bit something different. I'm not going to be putting on here anything about computers or software or anything like that. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can make your very own homemade bread. Now, make sure when you're making this homemade bread recipe that I'm going to show, you need to make sure that all ingredients that we're going to use is at room temperature or 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Here's what you'll need. You will need the tablespoon of sugar, which I already have measured out here. You'll also need another half cup of sugar, which I also have measured. You need 1 egg. You'll need 2 cups of lukewarm water. You will also need a half cup of 85-degree water. You will also need some salt, about 1½ teaspoons. You will also need some lard of about a half cup, but we'll need to melt it and we'll do that later on. And finally, you're going to have some activated yeast. This is what's going to do all the work. You'll also need 8 cups of bread flour. Yeah, that's a lot of flour, but you're going to need it. Now, other beside the ingredients, you'll also need a mixer that's capable of mixing kneading dough. You'll also need the bread hooks that goes with the mixer. These are dough hooks for kneading. You're going to also need a flour sifter. Now, once you have all your ingredients ready and they're at 75-degree temperature Fahrenheit, first thing we need to do is we're going to mix the yeast, 1 packet of yeast, to 1 table of sugar. And we're going to need 1/2 cup of 85-degree water. There's 1/4. And 1/2. Mix our sugar. And open our yeast. Now you want to make sure that yeast gets nicely mixed up. Now, you want this to sit for about 10 minutes to get the yeast activated. And this will get them going on their own. Okay, now that our yeast has been going, as you can notice, it's starting to foam up. That means that the yeast is actually working. They're eating away at that sugar. Well, the next step we need to do is we need to take our 1 beaten egg. Make sure it's beaten real good. Pour it into the mixture. we need mix in our half cup of sugar. Our 1½ teaspoon of salt. Our 2 cups of lukewarm water. And finally, we need to mix in our melted lard. Only a ½ cup. Now, all we have to do next is sift 8 cups of flour. Take our sifter. Now, once you get it down to the smooth silkiness that you want, now it's ready for. And what you want to do next is take your bowl and you're going to grease it this way, but the dough does not stick to the bowl. Now, what you want to do is get your tea towel, get it nice and wet, wringed out, and just lay it over the bowl with your dough in it. This will prevent the dough from drying out while it's rising. Now you just want to put it in a nice warm spot. Okay. Now that the dough has risen, it has to double in size. It takes approximately a couple of hours depending on how warm the temperature in the house is. Now, as you can see here, it has pretty much doubled in size. Now the next step will be you'll need to have 3 5x9 pans, lightly greased. Need some flour. Sprinkle on the we're going to knead it just a little bit. Don't want to do it too much. What we're going to do is we're going to divide this up equally in 3 parts, 1 for each pan. Now I'm going to take my knife and try to divide it in 3 equal parts. Now, once you got all three of them in the pan, now we're going to let it rise a second time. So, got my tea towel back, got it nice and wet and wringed out real good. All you got to do is just set it back over the pans and let them sit and let them rise again. And then the good part comes. Now my bread has risen for the second time and it's 3 5x9 greased pans. As you can see, they doubled in size again. Final thing we need to do now is put these in the oven. Now you do not want to preheat your oven. You need to have a cold oven when you put these in. Bread, your loaves in the oven, you need to heat your oven up to 400 degrees. Now you want to do this for the first 15 minutes. When the 15 minutes are up, this is going to give it a nice crust brown to the outer layer of the bread. When the 15 minutes are up, then we're going to turn the oven down to a temperature of 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And then we're going to do that for 25 minutes. Now, after the first 15 minutes at 400 degrees, as you can see, they got that nice brown crust to them, that color. Now, we drop the temperature down to 375 degrees. This time, we're going to do the final 25 minutes of the bread, and then it'll be time to take the nice, fresh baked bread out of the oven. Okay, now after the final 25 minutes at 375 degrees, the bread's ready to come out of the oven. Now, you got my 3 loaves of bread. Next thing you want to do now, take some stick butter. And just rub the edges of the loaf. This helps seals it. I'm going to do all around it. Now that you have your loaves covered with some butter to help seal the moisture into it, then you can just let it cool off a little bit. Take your first slice, slap some butter on there, you got yourself some homemade bread. Well, that's the end of this episode. I hope you learned now how you can make homemade bread. Turned out really good. Got some butter on it. Homemade bread at the finest. Take care of yourselves and thank you for watching.